Hi everyone. If you're a data professional, you might be wondering what impact AI will have on my career. It's not a question of if AI will have an impact on my career, but rather a question of what impact it will have on my career. Granted, there's a lot of hype on the subject, but beyond the hype, there's a massive opportunity. I think about the immediate practical implications of automating boilerplate code, for example, in addition to enhancing my user experience or my learning experience, like I showed you previously. It's easy to mock vibe coding, but consider how people use phones. Most people don't actually understand how a phone works, and yet everyone uses phone. I think in a somewhat analogous fashion, vibe coding has enabled a lot of non-programmers to abstract away much of the complexity of programming and be productive. I understand that there are risks involved, but there are also risks involved in driving cars, for example, and yet people drive cars. The utility of driving cars has outweighed its dangers. I think, or it might be possible that that people start using vibe coding in much the same way. Here's another example of how I've used AI to make my life easier. I asked Gemini to do deep research on the subject of artificial intelligence as far as it pertains to data engineering and data architecture. As you can see, the deep research functionality of Gemini provided a good report for me to read and establish a nuanced opinion on the impact of AI in data engineering. I'll paste the prompt I used to perform this research into the show notes. Let's briefly look at the report. Here again, I used AI and Gemini um, to develop the mermaid syntax for us to be able to draw a graph based on the report. As you can see, the report itself says that it's unlikely, or it thinks that it's unlikely that AI will completely replace the jobs of data engineers and data architects. Understand that there's a irony in trying to trust AI to tell us whether or not it's going to replace us, but let's just go with this for now. You can see that the report suggests that there's the highly repetitive tasks may be automated by AI. That goes without saying, and it's been going without saying for quite a long time. And then we go onto things like ELT or ETL code that might be auto-generated for us. And um, one of the suggestions out of the report is that we as data professionals need to shift our focus towards more sort of high level and strategic and complex work and let AI take care of the rest for us. So yes, we're at a crossroads, I guess, in terms of what should we do. And you can see I added this block over here. I think we have essentially two choices. We can either we can either be fatalistic about it, or we can stay complacent about it and do nothing, or we can actually embrace the fact that change is always happening. I think it's most important for us to avoid being fatalistic about it and feel that we can't do anything about the situation. And I feel it's important for us to embrace this opportunity that AI is actually providing for us and upskill ourselves in the process. So I believe we need to be proactive. We need to upskill ourselves. This is part of the report, these blocks here. And you can see by the suggestion of the report, it recommends that we focus on the technical stuff, right? The technical stuff has always been important, but also, and I think crucially, there's a block that suggests that we focus on the human aspect of our jobs, right? So if you think about communication, being able to talk to people and being able to listen to people, those things I don't feel are going anywhere. And I think the industry as a whole is, feeling the same way. I think critical thinking is also something that's often undervalued. And I believe that the report ends on an optimistic note, suggesting that we rather leverage the AI tools that's being presented to us and explore the opportunities that AI will create for us, right? So I think it's easy to forget that it's easy to forget that AI will create a massive load of opportunities for people to be able to exploit and use. And if you're interested, I suggest that you use Gemini for free and create the report for yourself and read carefully through it. In closing, I want to cover a few key points and takeaway actions for you to think about. Besides considering the report and all the hype and overhype and all the things that's going on in terms of people trying to predict the future, I think ultimately it's impossible to predict the future with any degree of certainty. I think what's happened in the past is that, you know, I think humans have a bias that they're sort of more negative towards the future than the future than what's actually happening. And there's a quote by Louis Pasteur, and it's in a Steven Seagal movie as well. If that makes more sense to you, but I think being prepared for the future in terms of utilizing the opportunities that things like AI is presenting to us is probably one of the things that's actually worked. And yeah, fatalism and complacency, those are the things that we should actually avoid, as opposed to being scared of like existential crises in AI and the likes. So what are the action items out of this? Yeah, it's always been valuable to stay curious about what's happening and try these things out for yourself. That's something that's been true since the dawn of time. I think instead of saying you don't have time to learn these things, I think it's probably it helps me personally if you can ask yourself like, how can I use this to make my life easier, right? Because as human beings we don't want to sacrifice something. We're more interested in trying to figure out what's the shortest way. How can I make this better for me? How can I make my life easier without the amount of time and effort that I need to invest in order to learn this skill? So if you think about a problem that you have, ask yourself if AI can solve this problem for you and try it out. You might fail, but so what? Try it out for yourself. And then we covered the fact that human skills are going to be important as per the report. Yeah, and I think the future might actually not be as bad as a lot of people predict it to be. AI in general. I think if you look at the history and the development of technology, generally technology has been good for us. That's not to say things can't change, but based on our experience, that's what happened. So, I think it's difficult to be sort of super fatalistic about the future, and I think it's important for us to try and embrace the opportunities that AI is actually gonna provide for us. And then finally, please remember to like and subscribe, and tell me if you find these videos valuable. One of the quotes that's always sticked with me is this one. The future belongs to those that can learn, unlearn, and relearn technology. So think about AI. If you're one of the people that's going to learn AI and technology in this way, then you're gonna benefit from this. So I suggest that you do it now and start learning how to use these technologies. So thanks for watching.